Well, hello everyone and welcome to Marion's World. If you have watched my channel since a few weeks ago anyway, you will have known that I was sent some kits from a company specialising in Chinese heritage crafts, particularly working with silk, and I was super excited to receive something for a double-sided Chinese silk embroidery. Now, I've long admired them, as I said on that video, because my husband was Chinese and I've known about that style of embroidery from his mum. So, a sneak peek here. I've spent this week doing it. It actually did take quite a while because I had to concentrate so much on just learning how to stitch in a little bit of a different style than I've done before. But I hope you're going to like the results, and I'll share the tips that I've found that I learned along the way. So I hope you enjoy it. I think these are the stand for afterwards, so I'll put them to one side. And in here my tiny needles. Been looking forward to doing this actually. So I'm just going to set my frame up now. So first things first, I'll just decide which is the right side. I think this one. I'm going to take this out of here and put the fabric in. Now I'll roll it inwards. I watched the videos about what I'm supposed to do, and it says sew about 5 centimeters stitches going up the side. I'll make them as evenly as I can. There we are. I'll tie that one off. I'm going to do the same and lace it in. I'm just hoping my garden fingers are up to it. I was making jelly last night and I didn't realise I was going to get purple hands from it. So there's been a lot of cleaning and scrubbing of my fingers to get them ready for this. Just finishing the lacing on the sides, and I was watching the tutorials because although I might be an experienced embroiderer, I just haven't done anything like this before, this fine silk stuff, and I'm really looking forward to it. But the preparation is key, I think, of getting the silk really tightly stretched. Well, I've come to the threads now. I've got 5 colours, and the 3 dark ones are really close in colour, and then I've got a charcoaly grey and then this light grey, and I've just cut it apart, and I need one strand that's then going to get split. So I was watching the videos to see what to do, because I've never stitched with anything this fine before, and I'm already realising that my hands are rougher than I thought. I'm going to just hang my thread over the embroidery stand. In fact, I'll hang all of these over the embroidery stand, which they're behind the light now, out of the way. It says twist it, and then it'll open up in the middle, which it has. I think I've got my first division. Just keep that one to one side. I'm not sure whether I'll be able to see fine enough, but I'm going to try. I'm going to split this again. You need eyes or a magnifying glass. I have a magnifying light here. There it is, I've got it. There it goes. So I'm set up. I've put a cream cloth underneath the work and on my table so that it wasn't distracting for me, including for you. I've got my really fine silk, and I'm going to start by doing a couple of standing stitches, just by going up and down. And to go back through. Oh, I've already unthreaded my needle. I can see this as I will have to really try not to snag. And another tiny stitch before I start. And now I'm ready to start. And it really is, oh, I've done it again, I've unthreaded my needle. Well, I have managed to get started off. I'm just going to clip my tail. And now that I'm not unthreading my needle every time that I pull it through, I am just doing long and short stitch, which is called Shah or sand stitch. But it's long and short, and so I'm going to work back and forward, up and down into the stitches I've already got. And the difference in the way that I would normally work is that I'm trying to be aware of what goes on the back as well as what's going on the front. And now that I've sort of got it started, I'm more happy because I'm just stitching now. And so I'm going to lay in this lightest grey right up the middle of here. And I've got a feeling I will be working in the magnifier as well, because I says my eyes are not what they were, and so I do struggle to see the really fine thing, which is why I got my magnifier in the first place years ago, because I just couldn't see the fine work. Oh, I've gone back to my old-fashioned style of doing less on the back. I need to make sure that I am trying to do the back as well as the front. Well, that's my first bit in anyway, I'll show you. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to do the rest of this pale bit. Well, I've finished this very palest colour up here, and I've faded the stitches out because it's supposed to be looking like brush strokes, because it's like a Chinese brush painting. So I'm actually going to start the second colour now, so a slightly darker grey. Where the silk is knotted at the top, it's just to be cut through. And I know when I first said I was going to be doing this a few weeks ago, I got some really helpful comments on that video. One's about, you know, sort of moisturising your hands the night before and using your breath on the thread to help it lie straight. And I have been doing that. I've definitely been using my breath to help the threads not just be so fly away, because they are absolutely gossamer fine. It's so lovely to be doing something this fine. It'll be the first time ever. So I'm threaded up again. I want to work on the bottom part of here, so it's still the lightest part of the bamboo, but because it's at the bottom, it says to use this next shade down. Start it just the same with the tiny little stitches that are going to go in. I'll just keep the tail out of the way and then cut it off once I am going. And I'm going to be doing my long and short stitch. And I'm doing it in a more regular fashion than I would normally do. And that's because I'm trying to be aware of what's going on the back as well as the front. And I'm going to continue starting to grade in the colour. And I can stitch over this bit here because it's going to go get over stitched with the next darkest colour. So it is exactly long and short stitch where you're grading the colours all the time and thinking about how the shading's going to be. So at the moment I just need to I'm worried I'm covering it with my right hand on the camera, I'm afraid. So I'm just going to go up the side. I could have gone straight over there actually. In fact, I'll start lower down. And I'm just going to grade in this darker grey. Work my way up to the top. And sometimes I'm working upwards, and sometimes like here I'm working backwards. And it's just because I need to get the colour on both of the sides. I'm just going to go straight over there, I think. I have never ever stitched with this finer thread before. Not ever. I'm concentrating on it, that's for sure. I'm finding it really lovely. Because it's always lovely to learn new things. And even though it's embroidery, just the technique is different. Stitches may be the same, but I'm having to think about the other side of the embroidery at the same time. I think that was a bit of a long stitch there. I'm going to come back. Oh no, I'll maybe go. I'll carry on up and I'll work back down, I think. So I'm going to come back down with this one. I'm not sure that I need it up there yet. So I'm going to come back down here. These colours are so similar, but that's what's going to make it look so, just such a lovely gradient of colour. Oh, I caught that before it went out of the needle. I found that the tutorials that are online have been really helpful actually, especially the splitting of the threads and things like that. And there is actually a tutorial of the gentleman stitching the whole thing, and so I have actually watched that through a couple of times, and as I've been stitching I've just been checking in because it is different from the normal way that I would stitch. And so I found it helpful to watch them. Just hope I'm doing it justice, that's all. I think I'd be using some darker thread at the base of this leaf. I'm going to fill it all in anyway because I can overstitch. Because I've got a pattern as well. Got a pattern here so I can see where, even if it's not very visible as I'm looking at it, I can see the pattern. Whoops. That's blooming silk's caught on my garden hands there. Actually, I'm not doing too bad with it. Once I've got over the shaky start at the beginning. I think it's not going to, the colours are so fine to the material. think it's not going to make much difference, but it does build up and make a difference indeed. Brought you back in because I am on the last few leaves up here, and I thought I'd just let you know how I'd been getting on, and if there were any tips for anybody who hasn't done this sort of embroidery before, that I've just gleaned from being an absolute beginner myself. And so, first of all, this is one of the things I actually did struggle with. I'm just bringing my magnifier down. I've got my magnifiers just here, and I am actually stitching while watching through it. So the starting and the finishing has been something I've definitely had to learn, because I just didn't seem to be either doing it enough to keep the end in, and I am used to finishing on the top. I don't normally start on the top of my work, and so I found that at the beginning I wasn't stitching into the tail enough to secure it, and it was actually coming apart. And so that's the first thing, is I think make sure you're actually stitching through the actual tail, and it helps to secure it. And I found the starting tail easier to get a hang of in the end than the finishing one, because the finishing one, as I started to do it, I was definitely ending up cutting the tail either too short and I could see it was springing through, or I felt I wasn't hiding it enough, and so I've had to learn to do that. So that's definitely the starting and the finishing, and I feel the finishing one was the hardest one to learn to do properly, and it's definitely been something I've had to concentrate on. So something that's become easier with the amount of stitching, I'll just cut that little tail off, and also is to watch out when you're cutting your tails, because right at the beginning there were 2 or 3 times when I actually cut through what I'd already embroidered by mistake, because I was trying to cut the tail small enough. And so it's be careful when you're cutting your tails. I have to do this with one hand, I think, otherwise I'm going to be covering it, but I do stitch with both hands, one above and one below. And I think that is the easiest way to do it, definitely. But I can't set my camera up good enough for that, I'm afraid. The splitting of the threads, I'm still splitting it down in half and then in half again. And although I thought it was quite difficult at first, it has got easier. And so that is just something with practice, as in most things. Practicing gets you better at it, and so the amount of embroidery I've done on here now has meant that I'm not having any problems splitting the threads down. I thought at first they would end up getting knotted up, but they just don't seem to. They seem to be fine, and they're stronger than I thought they would be, because they're so fine. That's just got a hold of my skin there. They're so fine, you think they're not going to take being pulled at, but actually they do, and that surprised me, because I've never actually stitched with anything like this before. And so that would be, don't worry about splitting them. You can tug at them, and if you tug at them they do come free, and so that's been a really good thing to learn. And I've really enjoyed laying in these stitches in a more methodical way than I think my stitching normally is, because if you've been on my channel before and you've seen me do a thread painting sort of tutorial or anything like that, you'll know I always say put in a framework, and I work back and forward along my whatever I'm doing. If it was a petal or this leaf, I'd be putting a framework and I'd be thickening it up back and forward. But you can't do that with this because I'm trying to get the back and the front the same, and so I need to work in a more methodical way. That means that I'm not even taking the thread sideways at all on the back. I'm trying to lay the stitches in the same way, and that's been quite a learning curve for me because it is very different from the way I would normally stitch. But the discipline of it has been interesting to learn, and I'm pleased that I think I'm doing it. I haven't looked at the back at all. I'd wanted it to be a surprise when I saw it, when I took everything out of the frame. I say, I was just about to say I've never had it knotted and then it's knotted up. It does normally just come free again. There we go. So even when you think you've got a knot, it does sort of just free itself if you keep just sort of stroking it and pulling it. So I haven't had the problem with the thread knotting up that I thought I would. So it's been really lovely to stitch on this, because another thing is I would not normally be stitching in black and white or in the shades of grey, because I'm all about the colour. But it's just been lovely to see even the shades of grey that are so close together. You think they're not going to make any difference, but they really do. And it's been lovely to be able to do that for a change. I have to say this is the third day I've been stitching on this, and so it has taken a while. It's not 3 full days of stitching by any means, but I'm concentrating so hard that I have done this over 3 days, and it is quite a tiny little piece, but it's so delicate and lovely looking. When I sort of step back from it later on, I just think, oh, that's looking really nice. And it does sort of look like the brush painting, which is what it is supposed to be. Sort of imitating a Chinese brush painting of a bamboo. And so it's been a very learning experience for me. This is actually the third of the 5 colours. And so I've used the very lightest one down the middle, then the next silvery grey. This is the 3rd grey, and the darkest one's going to go here, and maybe a little bit of the very black one. But I have used the black down at this bit, so the very darkest black, and it doesn't half make a difference when you put that in. Well, the other thing is, I've really found the video tutorials so helpful. I must have watched the one that's where the gentleman's stitching this bamboo. I must have watched it half a dozen times, because I just kept putting it on while I was stitching so I could try and keep up with him, because he's stitching in real time, except right at the end. I had no chance. I was too slow, and normally I'd say I am quite a quick stitcher, just from years of doing it, but I'm not quick at this because I haven't done this before. I think I'm going to leave that one there and fill in the bottom of here with the next colour down. So here's where I'm going to finish off. I need to do a couple of standing stitches, but just through the silk itself, and I definitely have got better at doing it. And that's another reason why I'm working through my magnifier. I actually started wearing glasses when I was just 9, and although I don't wear glasses now, and I don't have the fine sight that I might be able to have if I hadn't had that. I hadn't needed glasses at all. Plus my age, of course. There. So I've filled in that with this 3rd grey colour. Well, another thing I quite enjoyed, actually, you'll have heard me go on about marking things on dark, and how the white pens are not very good that I've had. This one's flipping amazing. It's not fine, but it shows up really well. And I'll show you because, and it comes off with an iron. It just looks like a ballpoint pen. Can do it here where maybe I would want to. Look at that. And there's my lines going on for the direction I'm going to stitch in. Yeah, I want more of these. I think it's a very good one. And here I'm going to put that leaf on right over the top of there. I can just put my line on. And that is going to iron off eventually. And on here, that's where that goes. So you can use the little pen to help yourself. I'm going to be keeping that for other things. And the other thing I've got used to doing, which was happening a lot at the beginning and now isn't, I kept unthreading my needle, as I'm not used to stitching with quite such a short needle, and the silk is really slippy and it's really fine, and I just kept unthreading my needle all the time. But now I'm not, because I'm sort of getting used to it. So that's just another thing to learn. And you can only learn that by doing. It's just experience. It's nothing, you can't say anything else. I'm on my absolute final bit of stitching. Putting the very black just to differentiate these 3 leaves here. And I need to take the heel of this one right the way over the stem. And so if the light looks different, it's because it's pitch black dark here now. I've only got my embroidery light on, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to make it look fine when I edit the video, because I didn't want to wait till tomorrow. I'm just going to put these last few stitches in, and I'm just desperate to see what it looks like on the other side too. So if I can do it now, and then tomorrow I can have another bit of footage in the daylight, but I didn't want to wait until tomorrow to put these final stitches in. It's been enjoyable, but quite intense actually. It's been an intense bit of embroidery. I've had such concentration on it. Right, let's see if I can get this bit done. Definitely like to just stitch in the daylight normally, but the thing with this time of year is it gets dark so quickly. And I kept going, thinking I was going to beat the light, but I didn't. Oh, I've just seen another bit as well. Finish that off. And just that bit here. It's not going to take many stitches to just do this. And I think I've done it. Oh. My goodness. Well, we see whether I've done any good work. Well, it's pretty darn good from this side. I'm very pleased with it. I'll turn it over. Oh my goodness. I think I did it. Now I can see where I've not quite got the stitches together, but I'm not going to hassle myself about that. I am super happy. Wow. Definitely seems more intense on this side, so I think there's more stitches on this side, and the other side hasn't quite got the amount of stitches. And I can see, oh no, that's all right. I thought that was a loose thread, but it isn't. Well, there you go. I shall show you it again in the daylight tomorrow. So I'm pleased that I was sent this, because I would never have had the opportunity otherwise of trying to stitch something like this, because I didn't even realise that the sort of kits actually existed. But I am super happy that Lansei decided to send me one, and I've really enjoyed every second of stitching it. It won't be the only one I do, and I do have another kit for making the three-dimensional flowers, so I'm not sure when that'll come up, but I will get onto it, because I would love to be able to make them and just see what I can do anyway. If you want to watch a video about thread painting like the way I normally would do it, try watching the video that's coming up now, because it's where I'm explaining how to do long and short stitch to get really natural looking flowers. Hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching everyone. Happy sewing and crafting.